Hi and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Jamie-Leigh and I've been procrastinating to say the least. But let's get back into it with a book review. Let's start off strong with the world of fantasy. I've been knee-deep into fantasy books, and if you hear the second category of books that I'll be reviewing, you'll understand why. So the first one we'll be reviewing is Assassin's Blade by Sarah J. Maas, and I had to rate it a 2-star. I was just not that into it. I wish I read it before I started the whole Throne of Glass series. I think I would have appreciated it more. And I read Assassin's Blade in approximately 11 hours. Yeah. The second fantasy grouping is Stephanie Meyer, and if you know that name, then you definitely know I'm talking about the Twilight series. I had to reread these books just because I think the first time I read it was when I was a teenager and I wanted to rewatch the movies. Yes, I rewatch all things over and over again, sue me, why don't you? But I had to, and let me just say I loved every second of it. I was speaking to my cousin about this. The only thing that I'm very iffy about is the imprinting scene of Jacob and Renesmee. But here we are nonetheless. All of these books I have rated a 5-star. I haven't included Edward's version into this. His is Midnight Sun, if I'm not mistaken. I know you read that way before you read Breaking Dawn. And yeah, I haven't gotten around to it. I don't think I'll read it anytime soon, just because I really skipped over it. So another thing that I have to mention is all of these books I read over the 10-hour mark. So once I got into it, I'll say I couldn't put it down. So it was reading the entire book in a day setting, a day or two. So mention the books now. I read Twilight in 11 hours, New Moon in 12, Eclipse in 12, and Breaking Dawn in 18 hours. So I think that's about, I'll say roughly 5 days of reading Stephanie Meyer's Twilight series. I would say approximately 5 days of reading the Twilight series by Stephanie Meyer, and she did not let me down. And I think being an adult now and rereading it, I look at things quite differently, and I'll speak about those differences more in a different category of books that I'll be reviewing. Now, I only read one thriller/horror book, and that is by the myth, the legend, Stephen King. I love his books. I love horror, and he just has a knack for it. I haven't read anyone else that's in the same category, and if you know anything, let me know down in the comments below. I just like something that's so far off from fantasy, just because fantasy puts you in a different headspace and it's really escapism, whereas horror is something that keeps me up on my toes. I read Carrie in 5 hours. I would say it was a really tough read just because it goes back and forth. The ending is somewhat different towards the movie. I got the gist that they are trying to recruit people that have special abilities like telekinesis, which Carrie has if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, I gave it a 4-star and I read it in 5 hours. I would say the book itself is really good. Too much wording. If you know Stephen King, he writes too much. He explains why the sun is yellow, but go off, King. If I reread it, I think I'll have a different perspective on it, just because I love the movie Carrie, and I just saw on Amazon Prime that they have 2 older versions of Carrie, which I was not aware of. But I think if I can sit on my hands and, concentrate, I think I can watch it. I'm just not a movie buff. If you know me, you'll tell me to watch a movie and I'll be like, yeah, yeah, I'll do it. I mean, it's a week and a month and a year and I still haven't watched Dead Poets Society, so here we are. Now we are going to my area, I'll say, of expertise. I love self-help books, but I don't read it in one sitting. For me, a good self-help book is something that I can read a chapter and try to implement into my own life, and these books kind of just did it for me. The first mention is Chapman, and you should know this is the 5 Love Languages. I read this in 3 hours and 10 minutes and it was by far the easiest read. What I was not expecting is a little glimpses of references from the book of Psalms, Proverbs, just indicating what love is in the Bible, which I thought that was pretty neat. In his way of researching these couples and the areas of concern was quite interesting, just because you relate in some way or another when you're reading it from someone else's perspective and what they are going through and why they kind of need help. I wouldn't read it again anytime soon, just because I'm quite familiar with the love languages, but it gives you such nice reference as in what people may desire and what they may want, especially when you are, you know, dating or you have close friends or family and you're just trying to understand them more. I would definitely say read this book, and I gave it a 3-star. So the next one is Gary Bishop and this book was quite interesting. I gifted this book from my dad, so yeah, I gave it a 4-star and I read it in 3 hours, and this was my go-to book when I didn't feel like going to the gym, I'll say. Now I'm currently trying to get back into fitness and things, and I would say this book, it really told me to shut up and get your ass to the gym in. But I enjoyed reading it. There were some moments where it was, you know, the dry sense of humor, funniness, which I love. And this book is called Unfuck Yourself, so if you can get your hands on it, definitely do it. 1 page a day will definitely keep you in shape, because it got me in shape. I was at the gym at the crack of dawn or late in the afternoon and I had no excuses. If I wasn't picking up a weight machine, if I was not hitting the mats for Pilates, I was on that treadmill. And yeah, the treadmill hates to see me coming these days, because that's the only thing that I'm quite interested in. It's like trying to get my steps in. So yeah, I don't know what to say about this book. I'll just say get your hands on it. And the last book in this category, I had to put it in this category, and the reason why is because I had to put this book into the self-help psychology category, just because it kind of encompasses that. This is someone's true story, and I can understand maybe some events and scene has been dramatized. However, I love this book so much, and I was raving about this in another video of mine in a vlog clip, if I'm not mistaken. So this book is called Sybil and it's written by Flora Schreiber. I'm probably butchering these people's names, but please forgive me. And I read Sybil in 14 hours and 8 minutes, and I rated it a 5-star. I don't know how to describe this book. I would reread it again. I just feel like I need some time and space to get over everything that I've read. So a little backstory about this book. I was friends with my dad and they dated and got married eventually. And she told him about this movie that she watched, right? If I said book before, please forgive me, but it's a movie that she watched. And she mentioned this movie to him called Sybil once, not twice, not 3 times like a parrot. She mentioned it once and he got his hands on it and he shipped it to the country for her to watch. So when I watched it for the first time, I was 13, and there was a lot of things that was happening in the book. Basically, Sybil has multiple personality disorder, or DID, which is dissociative identity disorder, and she has multiple selves that kind of protect her and help her throughout her day-to-day life, and this kind of just stems from all the trauma that she's endured as a child. And I would say when I watched this movie, I picked up on certain cues, but my brain was still young and developing, and I didn't understand it quite clearly. And I remember when I was about 16 or 17, I watched it again with my parents, and then new things kind of made sense to me, you know, in my growing little brain. And now that my frontal lobe has definitely been developed and suburred for a while, I decided to try to get my hands on the book. The book I cannot find, but I was able to actually get a digital copy, and I read the book, and the book kind of gives you more information that you're not really aware of when you watch the movie, and it makes so much more sense. As you can tell, I'm really stunned. I think the characters and the way that Sybil evolves, and she's kind of afraid as well to meet the other selves on this journey of recovery, and that's so true, and it's a testament to, I think, everyone. We're always afraid of change and what that we're all afraid of change and what that may look like, but at the end of the day, she sits through it, she sits through the discomfort, and she pushes through, and I think that's such a wonderful message. I would definitely read it again. Like I said, probably not anytime soon, just because my brain is still uncovering. This was a book that I had to read, and I had to put it down because the next line that I was going to read was just too much to bear with. But yeah, definitely read it. I will say that there is trauma associated with this book, so keep that in mind. But if you want to understand who she is and what that looks like, and it's amazing, honestly. If you can't read the book, watch the movie. The movie comes in two parts, part 1 and part 2, and even then, it's, yeah, I have no words to describe this book. I'm just so glad that I was able to read it, and I'm even more grateful that I was able to watch it, and that my mom made me aware of it, you know. It's just one of those things where I would pass on. It's, yeah. That's all I can say. And then to go on a lighter note, I am not that much into romance books, or swoon-worthy as Tik Tok would call it, just because I am so afraid of smut. Smut cannot see me coming because I can't. I generally can't read it. I tried to listen to an audiobook, and it was a romance novel fiction vibe, and one, I couldn't deal with it just because I was getting distracted, so I wasn't paying attention, and then certain things happened and I was like, nope, no, couldn't be me. So yeah, I read the 3-part series of Ginny Hunt's The Summer Turned Pretty, and I would say my ratings overall would have to be a 2 to 3 star. And I read the entire series in about 10 hours, so it was a very easy read. I couldn't deal with the first part just because they're so young, and then as I got older I was like, okay, cool. But yeah, the last category of books that I read, which I'm so excited to elaborate on, is it's Christian or faith-based books, and I'm reading quite a few faith-based books at the moment besides these ones that I've already completed. And the reason behind this is generally I want to deep dive into my faith, and I also want to understand the lives of saints and how they became saints, so I'm trying to get my hands on that as well. First one, excuse me, my apologies, my humblest of apologies, I might not pronounce this correctly. So the first one that I'll be mentioning is the story of Saint Therese of Lisieux. Definitely saying the last part wrong, but it's the story of a soul, and I read that in 10 hours. I love this book so much, especially just her knowing from the get-go that my path is to be a sister. I think what I love about this book is just her determination and her knowing that this is the path that the Lord has called her to do, and she was not taking no for answer. Her dad was so troubled by it because he thought, oh, another child of mine is going, and he prayed about it and she left, and I think a parish had dismissed her, told her she was too young, and she was just like, I'm still gonna talk to someone higher and I'm gonna get in because this is what the Lord wants me to do. And I loved that. I want to be that steadfast in my faith, and I want to know where I'm going, and I want to have a clear direction of that. And her journey by no means was plain sailing, and I think that's what we need to read as readers as well, and people that are going through the Christian faith. Like, it's not easy to study the word and try to be a good Christian every day. We all are battling our own things, and God is just like, he's there. And yeah, it's amazing. You should definitely read it. I'm not rating this book just because you can't rate it. Like, I genuinely can't. It's her life, it's her autobiography, and it's amazing, and I'll definitely reread it. I am reading another book of a saint at the moment, and I'm just trying to understand her. Reading autobiographies is tricky, and I'm new at it. I'm getting the hang of it, you know. The next one, I was actually told to read this by my deacon. It's by Lyn Holness, and it's called Journeying with Mary. I read it in about 4 hours and 9 minutes. I think it was quite interesting. Everything in this book was quite interesting, just because I don't think she's Catholic. I'm pretty sure she's Protestant. However, she studies the view of Mary in different perspectives and her understanding of it, and to me that was really great. I don't think I know everything, and I definitely don't, but reading about someone else's perspective and the way that they were inclined to research Mary, because she didn't really know what she was getting herself into. She just knew that this was the mother of our Jesus, and she wrote about it. And I'm pretty sure this is a South African author, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah. And then the last but not least, this was another book that the deacon told me, please read it, and now I've read it. It's by Father DeGrandis, probably saying it wrong. It's called Renewed by the Holy Spirit. This book was quite interesting to me because it followed the journey of multiple priests and how they came about to finding their faith. And again, everyone's journey is so different, and you don't really know where you're going to end up, but the end goal was being closer to God, and that was it. And in a nutshell, that's just what the book is about. It's being renewed by the Holy Spirit. I can definitely see myself rereading this, or going back to certain people that stood out for me at the time. And I read this in 3 hours, which I would say is a good read. I couldn't put this book down, and the reason why is because I knew everyone that I was reading about had a different story, and I was so interested in reading the next person's journey within their faith. So that is the books that I've read this year so far. I would definitely say that I'm far behind. I thought I would reach 100. However, I'm reading multiple books at a time, and I know I said I had to stop, but here I am again doing the same mistake. But we live and we learn. Either way, thank you so much for watching my YouTube video. Please like, comment and subscribe, and share with anyone that are readers. If you have a favorite book or a book that you want me to get my hands on, please let me know. I'm always on the hunt for a good book. Thank you guys, and have a swell day. Bye.